Eagles Nation, if you felt that electric energy around the NovaCare complex this week, you're not imagining things. The moves have been bold, the message has been clear, Philly is all in once again. Howie Roseman didn't just talk about building a contender, he's doing it. Coming out of the trade deadline, there's a sense that Roseman isn't quite finished, and if you know this front office, you know that's never just talk. 3 trades before the deadline, Michael Carter, Jaire Alexander, and Jalen Phillips, set the tone for what feels like another all-in Eagles season. But what happens now that the dust has settled? That's what's got every fan in Philly talking, because Roseman's never been the kind of GM to leave potential upgrades sitting on the table. Let's be real, every single move at this stage of the season is about one thing: setting this team up for a Super Bowl push. Eagles family, let's hear it. Drop a "Go Eagles, I believe" in the comments if you're riding with this team all the way. And don't forget to smash that like button if you feel that Philly fire burning right now. And that's why the conversation around free agents suddenly matters again. Because when you look at the roster, it's not about fixing weaknesses, it's about reinforcing strengths. Let's start with a name that's already familiar around here: CJ Uzomah. The big tight end was part of the Eagles' locker room last season. He didn't catch a single pass, but that wasn't his role. He was a blocker, a physical presence in heavy sets, and he did it well. At 6 feet 6 inches, 262 pounds, Uzomah isn't that flashy tight end who racks up highlights. He's the guy who makes life easier for everyone else, the kind of dirty work player that championship teams value. The Eagles have missed that kind of presence behind Dallas Goedert this year. Goedert is one of the league's best all-around tight ends, but when you look behind him, Grant Calcaterra hasn't proven himself as a dependable blocker, and Cam Latu, while he's done some nice things in specific packages, isn't quite the full-time heavy-set option. That's why a return for Uzomah could quietly make a lot of sense. He knows the system, he's already got chemistry with the offensive line, and if Philly wants to go big and physical down the stretch, something that's always been a calling card for this team, he could step in seamlessly. Then there's the offensive line. For years, that's been the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles. But when you start thinking about depth, especially on the interior, you realize there's a small window where things could get thin quickly. Tyler Steen has held his own, but is fine really good enough when your eyes are on a Lombardi trophy? That's where a veteran like Brandon Scherff could come into play. Scherff's resume speaks for itself. First-round pick back in 2015, 5 Pro Bowls, an All-Pro nod, and one of the steadiest guards in football for a long time. At 6 feet 5 inches and 315 pounds, he's not a bruiser in the mold of Landon Dickerson, but he brings something just as valuable: technique, consistency, and experience. Last season in Jacksonville, he didn't allow a single sack on over 1,000 offensive snaps. That's not a fluke. That's a guy who knows how to protect a quarterback and keep a clean pocket when it matters most. Now, sure, Scherff isn't a long-term solution, but that's not what this would be about. If you bring him in now, you're giving yourself insurance for a playoff run. You're adding one more layer of protection to keep Jalen Hurts upright in January and February, and that's worth every penny. It's the same mindset Roseman's had for years: stack proven talent, keep options open, and never let one injury derail the season. And speaking of that mindset, let's talk about the cornerback position. Howie himself said it best: you can never have enough corners. That's why nobody was surprised to see the Eagles make 2 separate moves to strengthen the secondary, bringing in both Michael Carter and Jaire Alexander. But what if there's still one more card to play? Because out there on the market is a familiar name, a big one: Stephon Gilmore. Yes, he's 35. Yes, he's not the same lockdown corner who won Defensive Player of the Year in 2019. But what Gilmore brings is something that doesn't show up in metrics: leadership, experience, and the ability to handle big game moments. Last season in Minnesota, he allowed just over 500 yards in coverage and had 9 pass breakups. Those are not the numbers of a washed-up veteran. Those are the stats of a guy who still knows how to win his matchups when it matters most. In a secondary that's already mixing new faces and young players, adding a presence like Gilmore could stabilize everything. He's been through deep playoff runs, he's played under pressure, and he knows how to prepare for the stretch that separates good teams from great ones. It's the type of move that says, we're serious about closing this thing out. And that's the thread running through all of this, right? Every name, every conversation, every hypothetical signing, it's all about the same thing. This isn't a rebuild. It's not even just a contender year. This is a team that believes it's built to win now. So when Howie Roseman starts picking up the phone, nobody should be shocked. Whether it's Uzomah adding grit to the run game, Scherff fortifying the trenches, or Gilmore tightening up the back end, each of these pieces fits the same philosophy that's made Philadelphia the model franchise of the NFC. But here's the real question, the one that every Eagles fan's been debating since the final seconds of the trade deadline ticked away. Is this roster already complete enough to make another Super Bowl run? Or should Howie keep his foot on the gas and make one more move before it's too late? If you've watched Howie Roseman operate over the years, you already know the answer. The man doesn't take his foot off the gas. That's exactly why the idea of another addition still feels alive inside the NovaCare complex. And if you look at the pattern of his decisions this year, every move has had a purpose. It's not about flashy headlines. It's about control, controlling the trenches, controlling the tempo, controlling the narrative of how this season unfolds. So if another deal happens, don't be surprised if it's on the defensive side of the ball. Because while the Eagles' pass rush has been lethal and the cornerback room is now stacked, there's another layer of depth that could still use a veteran voice, the safety position. And when you start naming names, one jumps out immediately, Justin Simmons. It's honestly shocking that Simmons is still unsigned. We're talking about one of the smartest safeties in the league, a guy who was literally an all-pro under Vic Fangio. And guess who's running the defense in Philly right now? That's right, Fangio himself. That connection matters. It's not just about familiarity with the playbook, it's about trust. Simmons knows how to execute Fangio's vision, stay deep, read the quarterback's eyes, disguise coverages, bait throws, then make plays on the ball. Look at the current safety room: Reed Blankenship, Andrew Mukuba, and Sidney Brown. Young, athletic, hungry, but inexperienced. Add Simmons to that mix, and suddenly you've got balance. You've got a veteran who can teach, communicate, and stabilize the back end. Remember, this is the same guy who's picked off Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow in recent years. He's seen every formation, every trick, every route concept. That's not something you can coach in a few weeks. That's a decade of NFL experience walking into your locker room. And you can bet Jalen Hurts and the offense would feel that impact too. Having a leader like Simmons in practice sharpens the entire group. He challenges receivers, forces tighter windows, and tests the timing of plays. That's how great teams get better, by facing greatness every single day, even on the practice field. Now, there's another name making the rounds lately, Asante Samuel Jr. And yeah, that one hits different. His father was one of the most electric corners to ever wear midnight green, a gambler in the best possible sense, and a fan favorite in Philly for his swagger and playmaking. Seeing his son potentially return to where his dad built that legacy, that's the kind of storyline that would send shivers through the fan base. Of course, Asante Jr. has been through a lot. The spinal fusion surgery was serious, but the reports say he's been cleared by doctors, and now he's taking visits with teams like Carolina, Green Bay, Minnesota, and San Francisco. So the question becomes, should the Eagles make a call? On talent alone, absolutely. He's still young, he's quick, and before his injury he was on pace to become one of the better outside corners in the AFC. But health is the key. If he checks out medically, this could be one of those sneaky Roseman signings that pay off when nobody's expecting it. The thing is, we've seen this movie before. Every time the league thinks how he's done, he finds another way to squeeze value out of a market. He plays the long game. It's not about being first, it's about being right. And right now, with this roster, being right could mean the difference between another deep playoff run and finally bringing that Lombardi trophy back to Broad Street again. And honestly, doesn't it just feel like that kind of year? The chemistry, the leadership, the balance across all three phases, it's all there. But as strong as this team looks, there's always room for one last reinforcement, one more veteran presence to tighten the screws before the playoff storm hits. That's what makes this moment so fascinating. Every move from this point forward isn't just a roster decision, it's a message. A message to the locker room that says, we're all in. A message to the rest of the NFC that says, we're coming. And a message to the fans that says, this isn't over yet. So now it's your turn, Birds fans. You've heard the names, Uzomah, Scherf, Gilmore, Simmons, Samuel Jr. Which one would you want wearing midnight green? Who do you believe could push this team from great to unstoppable? Let me know what you think down below. Hit that like button if you're riding with this squad. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss the latest Eagles news. And as always, check out the videos on your screen for more exclusive coverage of your Philadelphia Eagles. Because here's the truth, this isn't just another mid-season storyline. What's happening right now feels like the setup to something much bigger. Every year, there's one team that flips the switch after the deadline, that turns all the little adjustments and late-season moves into momentum. And right now, that team looks like the Philadelphia Eagles. The energy inside the NovaCare complex has changed. Players feel it, coaches feel it, and fans can see it. The atmosphere is focused but fearless, the kind of mood you only find in a locker room that knows what it's chasing. You can tell by the way Jalen Hurts carries himself. He doesn't need to talk about revenge, or redemption, or pressure. Everything about him says unfinished business. He's locked in, and the roster around him looks like it's starting to mirror that mindset. Adding someone like Justin Simmons or Stephon Gilmore wouldn't just be about talent, it would be about presence. The Eagles have been built around leadership at every level. You've got Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson holding down the offensive line, Fletcher Cox anchoring the defense, and A.J. Brown setting the tone with that silent intensity that only real dogs have. What Roseman does better than anyone is surround that core with players who know how to win. Veterans who walk in, understand the standard, and raise it. And that's the exact blueprint that brought Philadelphia to the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. Every move then, from Hasten Reddick to James Bradbury, was about balance and fit. You can feel that same calculated aggression right now. Roseman isn't chasing big names just to make headlines. He's filling cracks before they turn into problems, building a team that can adapt when January football gets cold, fast, and physical. Let's not forget how crucial that depth becomes once the grind of the season hits. The offensive line rotation, the defensive back flexibility, even the special teams units, they all start to matter when every possession counts. And that's where these final tweaks could make all the difference. Bringing in a player like Uzomah for blocking strength or Scherf for interior reinforcement might not make highlight reels, but those are the kind of decisions that win playoff games. Because in Philly, it's never been about flash, it's about fight. It's about finishing drives, protecting your quarterback, and breaking the will of whoever lines up across from you. The Eagles have built their identity around that for years, and this current version might be the most balanced roster we've seen in the Jalen Hurts era. You've got speed on the edges, power in the trenches, depth in the secondary, and leadership that holds everyone accountable. That's what championship DNA looks like. Still, there's this lingering sense that one final piece could push them over the top. Maybe it's Simmons bringing that all-pro discipline to the secondary. Maybe it's Gilmore adding another veteran voice to the locker room. Or maybe